Hi guys, it's Phalanges here, and welcome back for some more shenanigans. Today's video is kind of a serious one, kind of not. I'm just filling out my planner, and it's just gonna be a sit down and chill type of thing. So whether you're just wanting to have something in the background, or just chilling and want to hear my life update, you could do that. I'm just drinking some peach tea. This mug's really cute. I can't show you right now because it's full, but there's a kitty cat in the center. I'll show you when I finish it. Hopefully I don't need to go potty though, because I can't do that mid-video. I mean, I guess I could and just cut it out. Trying to, there you go. Nothing about my videos are professional, okay? So if you're here for professional content, this is not the channel. I just like to be myself and talk. It's cathartic for me to kind of sit down and talk about it with people, just like different things that are happening in my life for the accessory. With that being said, I'm going to be doing my planner, filling it out, putting stickers. Shout out to my sister, she gave me a crap ton of planner stickers. If you know me, I love to write in my planner, so just to show you guys kind of what I have already. So I do go into my planner and I just like write different things. This is August, just to kind of put that out there. Don't want to like show too much of it though. So with that being said, today's video is going to be titled, My Mom Got Catfished, and just kind of a story time on that. So with that being said, let me get to where I was in my planner, and we're just gonna get into it. With that being said, I hope you guys are doing okay. I am just trying to get my life together and start school again soon. So I'm really excited about that because I find a lot of purpose in being a student. It's one of my favorite things. I feel like school just makes sense to me, and I know a lot of it is because of the validation you get from like school stuff, like, you know, good grades and stuff. So yeah, so my mom getting catfished, this kind of goes into like a lot of things. So kind of to fast forward, my mom tried to, trigger warning, take unalive herself recently, a couple weeks ago, maybe not even a month ago, and that was just a whole roller coaster. But I kind of wanted to dive more into the catfishing aspect of it, because the only person that she wrote a unaliving letter or sentiment any of kind was to this guy, and so I'm feeling quite hurt by that. And just to give some context, prior to this event happening, we had a storm in Houston, and my lights went out, and so I didn't have electricity, and a lot of people didn't, but we're all okay now. So I went to go stay with my parents while I had no electricity, because I had my son, and I wasn't going to put my child in that kind of situation. So I went to go stay with my parents. Okay, cool. I was sleeping, minding my business, and then my dad wakes me up, and he's like, Maria, wake up. And he's guiding me to the room. My father has Parkinson's disease, so he's like heavy breathing, he's shaking, his tremors are visibly worse. If you don't know what Parkinson's is, just Google it, but essentially it's just like, there's a lot more to it, but he has tremors that he can't stop, and it's just going to progress. It has no cure. It's a brain disorder, a neurological disorder, I think. Well, that's like the same thing, just reiterated in different verbiage. But with that being said, so he takes me into the room and he opens up my mother's iPad, and he just starts showing me all these texts and stuff that my mom is cheating on him, and my parents are kind of estranged from each other, but they're in that type of situation where like they're still living with each other, still technically married. They are on and off, and honestly, they're too old for this stuff, but I guess that I guess I realized that at this point you're never too old for these types of issues. But with that being said, he said that she was cheating on him, and he starts showing me all of these messages. And apparently, my mom was like meeting up with this guy after work. And sorry, it's kind of hard to do this scan talk. So she was meeting up with this guy after work, and she works overnight. So she was saying to my dad that she was working overtime, and when she was actually just going to a hotel with this guy, and like there was other guys, and like in that I also saw messages that, first of all, I know way too much about my parents' sex life, more than I ever want to know, and I know more about my parents than I'm ever comfortable knowing. As a child, should not really know a lot of these things. You know, I'm your child, not your therapist, but to some extent, I don't know. Anyways, so my dad's like visibly having a panic attack, and I realize that she's messaging these guys, including the guy who's catfishing her. And she promised she had stopped texting this guy. Sorry, I'm messing with my hair so much. I just don't care. um, Yeah, it's good. So she was messaging this guy again, and she was messaging multiple of these dudes. Now, if you have older parents or just like know anyone who's in a catfishing situation, I suggest that you like really have these hard conversations with them, and don't just like be happy for them. Like, yes, it's great and dandy that they've met someone that is like happy. You know, you should always be happy for people and stuff like that, but also like it is concerning, and you should also hit them with the reality of the situation just in case, because you just never know what could potentially lead out of it, and I'll get into that later. So my mother was messaging all these different military guys that are like obviously scammers, and because of the status of her relationship and because of the things my mother has gone through in her life, she was vulnerable, and these guys look for victims who are vulnerable like that, and it's sad, but it's true. And with that being said, yeah, just have those hard conversations with people that you know may be engaged in a relationship like that, because it's not worth it in the end. So, with that being said, after that situation happened, my mother came home. It was like this whole ordeal. My brother went to go to her work and try to find her, etc., etc. But after that whole situation was over and she came home, she was telling me she hated me, that I was bitch, and that just all these obscenities about me, how I'm worthless, etc. And, you know, as a mother myself, I would never say that kind of stuff to my son, so it really did impact me that she was saying these things to me. And I have mommy issues and daddy issues, and that's a whole separate video that I think I could go into. But, anyways, um, so yeah, so she told me that, and then a couple days later, I went to go get my car fixed with my dad, and because he's a mechanic, and he was in the shower, so I was like, okay, whatever. She's my mom. I should get over it. And so it's like, hey mom, because she was not looking well, and she just didn't talk to me. She looked at me and just didn't say a word. And something about my mother and me is that growing up, that was her favorite thing to do, is play the silent treatment. And I hate the silent treatment, because imagine you're like 5, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, and your parent is upset with you, and instead of just being a parent, they just silent treatment you. They don't talk to you, they don't look at you, they don't acknowledge you, and you're a kid. Like, you don't deserve that treatment, and your parent should be mature enough to not do that. But unfortunately, not everyone has that situation. So with that being said, my so after that, she didn't talk to me, and I was just kind of like, okay, whatever. And then the next day, I think it was the next day or the day after, my mother, I get a call from my dad that my mother was trying, or did try to unalive herself. Now, that whole situation in itself was a whole ordeal, and cops were called. My mother went to jail. I don't want to get into it. Let me know if you want a video on that story time. But with that being said, fast forward, when we did look through her messages, and I was trying to kind of gather what had happened and what led up to this point, because I was taking care of the rent, I was helping with the water bill, I was helping with, just the logistics, because my father has Parkinson's, and he was really stressed and just couldn't do that. He's had a bunch of health issues, so I was just trying to help out where I could, because they're still my parents at the end of the day. And so with that being said, when I was looking at the messages trying to find like phone numbers to the rent lady, etc., I saw that she had only wrote a letter to this guy, and I was just like so shocked that that just happened, and the only person that you wrote anything or left anything to was this guy who doesn't exist. And that's really sad, honestly. I don't care how you view this situation, whether my mom is a good mom or a bad mom, whatever, like, I don't care how you view it. That's sad that, like, the only person that she wrote to was him, and if she had actually succeeded in doing what she was trying to do, like, sorry, I'm really bad at doing two things at once, and I kind of, like, want to make eye contact, but also do this. So, anyways, yeah, that whole thing like messed me up that that was the only person she wrote anything to. And I know this might be a lot, but I'm going to actually read the message, because I think it's important to kind of put in perspective where my mother was at and like how unhappy she was. And then we'll dive into like the origins of how my mother even got to this point. So let me locate that photo. I will probably cut all of this part out, so mm, Okay. Wow, that took forever to find. So I apologize for whipping my phone out, but just to kind of put it into perspective, I think it's really important that I do read this message because it kind of puts in perspective how desperate she was at this point and how these people have, or this person manipulated her so much that, like, it's just crazy to fathom she only wrote as someone who doesn't exist. So the message reads, or I don't know if I can plug it in. I'll try to plug it in this, but I'm not a professional editor. It says, "No, babe, understand me. I'm so sorry and I'm so sad. You've been ignoring me since." That's the catfishing guy. Because he was asking for money again, and we'll get into that. "My mother, this is her unaliving note, the only note she wrote to anyone before she did what she did. I'm done with this. I'm tired of being your clown, and I don't know what you want. More money, more money, more money. I don't have any money. And besides, this is the last time I'm going to have a conversation with you. I'm so depressed, and I've been feeling really sad, and I'm home, and I have problems, so they push, and they push, and they push, and they push. I can't hold myself, so and I don't have the rest of the message because it's, you can kind of gather already where I'm trying to get to. So, it's not okay to take advantage of people like that. It's just not. And it's all fun and games when you're watching a documentary on Netflix about catfishing, and it's very much like a drug addiction. It doesn't just choose one particular person. Any person is susceptible to catfishing, whether you're a celebrity, a rich person, a poor person, a homeless person, a mid 20 years old, 30 years old, 50 years old. It doesn't discriminate, catfishing. They will take advantage of anyone in any way that they can. They will find your weakness. They will find where you are vulnerable, and they will use that to manipulate you into giving them what they want, whether that's money or they're just sick in the head. With that being said, so now we're going to go all the way back to the beginning. My mother met this guy probably a couple of years ago. Sorry, I dropped my tweezers. My mother met this guy many years ago. I would say maybe it's been like 3 or 2 years at least. And this man came into her life via, she claims it was at a Starbucks. The story changed. When she told my dad it was at a Starbucks, she told me it was at a Chick-fil-A, that she met him in person, that he was at this place, and she was in the line, and they met, and they exchanged details, and then they started talking from there, and he was on leave from the military. After that, she was just so happy. My parents were kind of at this point where they were very unhappy with each other, and like, no person is innocent in this situation. But also, my dad didn't deserve that. Nobody deserves to be cheated on right in front of each other. But it's just really complicated because they should be divorced and they just won't get divorced. And I hope if you're also in a situation like that, that you just embrace the change. I know it can be easier said than done, financially speaking, or whatever speaking, like comfort, etc. But trust me, the longer you stay in it, the more unhappy you'll be. As you can see by my mom, she just got to this point where everything was just not where she wanted to be in life, and she tried to do what she did. And with that being said, just leave. There are plenty of resources that are available to you, whether it's a shelter or some type of resource. They're out there. You just have to actually want it enough to like make the change. And I know that's so much easier said than done, hence why my parents are in their 50s having a teenage midlife crisis and extremely unhappy. So my mother meets this guy at the Chick-fil-A or Starbucks or whatever, and she's really happy, and I'm happy for her. I'm like, okay, finally, you're gonna leave my dad, and this is not the way that I wanted it to happen, because you're still married, and you're just essentially hopping from one relationship to the other, which is not healthy, but nonetheless, she's trying to make a change. She's talking about getting a divorce, and then she was talking about how happy this guy makes her. She was showing me messages and videos of this guy, and she just genuinely seemed happy, and so I was happy for her. And I feel like everyone is deserving of love, and yeah, I was just really happy for her. I wanted to meet him, obviously, because I kind of already had my suspicions. Not because I don't think my mom could get a man like that or anything, but because like, she just like the little details. I had already seen a lot of catfishing type documentaries, and it just kind of sounded suspicious. I don't know. She was like not knowing a lot of his life, and I would ask questions, and she would like have kind of an answer, but not really. Like, she would say his job was this in the military, but then he had an accounting business, but then like she would ask me random questions like, if someone had a lawyer for this, how long would it take for this to get settled? Or like, just weird questions like, what is an accounting this? And then I would explain to her what it is, or like, what does this mean? And I was just like, okay, this is kind of weird that we were just talking about a relationship, and then you're asking me these kind of questions that are just like kind of suspicious. But I wanted to be happy for her. I wanted to give it the benefit of the doubt and just kind of go from there, because she was talking about divorce with my dad, and like, we've all tried so hard. Like, I've told her she could move in with me and my husband. We could get a house or something. She could live with us. My sisters tried and offered her a place to stay. We've all pushed my mother to like, hey, like, if this is actually the change you want to make in your life, we can help you make it happen. You just have to be the one to actually put this into practice. And so we were all supporting her in whatever she wanted to do, but she was just never committing to doing it. And so, yeah, time goes by, and I don't live with my mother at this point, so I kind of just see her here and there, and she's telling me about this dude and updates, because she was taking me to work sometimes, etc., etc., if you know where that is. Brownie points, bony points. My bad. And I was just happy for her. And so time goes by. She's updating me on this relationship. Keep asking me suspicious questions. Texting me randomly like, how do you type this? Because there's a language barrier. He speaks English and no Spanish, and he's apparently in a Middle Eastern country for his job, and so she's just like asking me a bunch of questions because I had a partner who was in the military, and so I did reach out to that ex-boyfriend for advice, because I was kind of like, like, I'm starting to have my suspicions at this point. So I asked him, like, hey, if this guy was at this job, would he be able to text? Because, like, sometimes I know when you're on, like, on a leave or something, or not on a leave, but when you're on, like, let's say a mission or whatever, like, you can't just have your phone wherever. And I knew when he was at work for his job, he couldn't like text me. So I was finding it very strange that he was just able to do these things so openly. And so I text him, get advice. He's just like telling me ABCD, and so things are not adding up. And so finally, I'm like, okay, I need to have like a harsh conversation with my mother, like, like, hey mom, like, I start questioning her about things. It's like, I want to meet this guy. When's the next time that he's gonna be here? And then she's like, oh, he wants to meet you, he wants to meet you, he wants to meet Angel, da 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 da. She's just like so in love, so happy. I'm like, okay, yeah, let's meet. Tell me when and I'll be there. And it was just never a committing to it, and it was just really weird. Like, I was like, tell me a date, come on, when can he, when is he coming for leave? And she just didn't have a date. She was saying she was looking at houses, to when he comes down here, because he wanted to pick out a house for her and that they could rent and move in with his kid, because his wife, or his ex-partner rather, was not great for the kid, and the kid was with him, and the kid was on the military base with him, and etc. And she was meeting the kid. And so at this point, like, my suspicions are growing. So one day I did intrude my mom's personal boundaries, and I will say that I own that. And that's why, like, the situation later with the iPad, I feel triggered her really badly, because she thought I did it, and that's why she told me those obscenities, because she thought that I did that, and that's how my dad knew, but I was just sleeping, minding my business. But in this instance, I did go through her iPad because I was just raising alarms here and there, and I look at the iPad and she's messaging his son, and the son's like sending her messages like, let me do stuff with your upper area. Let me, I'm saying this in a very modest, demure type of language verbiage, but it was very, very vulgar. And it's like, if this kid is like 6 or 7, first of all, how is he typing this? Like, I think he was like 5 or 6 supposed to be at the time. Like, my son can't even type on an iPad a full sentence. So, like, this is weird that he's typing these things. Like, this is clearly not his son. And she's just not getting it. And so I looked through their messages, and she's sending him money. So at some point, I did live with my mom, and she just kept asking me for money, and she would go to the grocery store right after, and she would always ask me questions about like gift cards and stuff. And that's when I started really getting like alarmed by this behavior, because I was like, okay, this is friggin' weird. Why is he wanting you to do this? Why is he wanting you to send money? Oh yeah, and then there was this weird situation where she was like, he's gonna send me money. How would I go about doing that? And like da 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 da. It's like, why is he sending you money? Like, she's like, oh, because he can't send it through this, and it was just alarming. I have terrible memories. I'm just recalling things as best as I can. But yeah, so she was like telling me that, and he was trying to send her cash through mail at some point. So I was just like, okay, ding ding ding, the alarms are going off for me. Like, he's sending you, his son is sending you messages like that. He's asking you for money, and then she was asking everyone she knew, old coworkers, old friends, my tia, my aunt, my uncle, or my not my uncle, my aunts, um, me, my sister. She was asking everybody she knew for money. And I'm pretty sure that it was to send to this fucking guy, or freaking, sorry, dude. And yeah, it was just pretty sad by this point. Like, I was realizing what was happening to her, and that really sunk in for me, like, at that point, like, what was happening. And so I was like, okay, now I have to have this harsh conversation with her. She's not going to be happy about it. And I trigger my mom a lot, and that's a whole separate video about why my mom hates me so much. So I got like support from my brother. I was like, hey, Angel, I did this thing and I'm not proud of it. I did invade her privacy, but hear me out. I told him why, and he agreed it was also weird, and he's like, okay, I'm gonna talk to her and go from there. And she basically manipulated my brother. She said that she wasn't gonna do it anymore, and that she wasn't gonna talk to this guy anymore, and etc. etc. She told him all these things that she was supposedly going to do and commit to. And I don't think she ever did, because she was in love with this guy, and like I told you, even years later, the only person she like sent anything to was him. So obviously she's in love with him. Like, that's pretty easily said and done. And so it just got worse over time. It was on and off. She was still asking for money. She was still sending him money. At some point, she got him a phone. It's actually the phone I have right now because my mom helps me with my phone bill. But essentially, he said that he got a phone through her and he was going to pay her back for it. And so she got the phone out and something didn't work out, and he, one, never sent her the money for it. Two, she was stuck with this phone that she's paying for now for no reason. I'm not sure what the plan was there for him or what happened, but it didn't work out. She was stuck with a phone that she's now paying for, and then I ended up taking it in. But yeah, so alarming behavior. And I honestly, like, I'm like, why didn't she, like, why didn't this, like, click in sooner, you know? But also, like, that's how you know that these, like, scammers and catfishers, like, they know what they're doing. They have this down to a T. They're extremely manipulative. I recommend, if you haven't already, go on Netflix. There's a ton of catfishing ones. There's one about a chef lady who got catfished. There's one about a doctor who catfished people, or like stuff like that. And it's just like, these people are extremely manipulative. They have it down to the T. There's strategies of how to get money out of these people, how to do it, when to do it, and like how to keep it hidden from their families because they're so embarrassed of like certain things, like they don't want to admit. I'm sure my mom didn't admit how bad the situation was because of how the things got. Like, she was stuck with this phone she's paying for. She's sending this guy money. He owes her a lot of money. He said he would pay her back and never did. He's promising her he's gonna take her and move in with her and they're gonna be this happy family with his kid. All of this stuff, like, all of these empty promises, and my mom's like so in love with him and hanging on to these hopeless part of her where she's in love with him and that he'll save her from her situation, and it's never gonna happen. He was never gonna come down here. And that's why, like, I'm not sure if she ever did meet him in person because he never ever came down ever again after that one leave he was on where they met. So, yeah. Alarming behavior continues. There was a period of time where they did stop talking. Like, it got to the point where my sister, me, and my brother both sat down with her and said, hey, this is bullshit. Sorry for my French. This is bullshit. And you have to stop because we're not going to help you, because my sister's financially helping my mother with certain things. My brother is trying to get my mom out of the situation, and he was willing to move in with her into an apartment at the time, but he was like, if you're lying to me, I don't want to live with a liar. I don't want to live with someone that I know is going to just, like, not be good with the money. And so, let me make sure I did this correct. 23. Sorry. And so time went on and she did stop talking to him, and she had a couple boyfriends. Like I said, my parents are always like in a limbo where they're back together, they're not back together, they break up, and they're still married, and my mom moves out of the room at some point. She goes into a different room, but they're still living together. Like, it's very toxic. And I'm not saying anyone's in the right. Like, my father and my mother are both in the wrong for different things in this situation. But it's just not okay. And so, with that being said, so they did stop talking. My mom had a couple boyfriends. All of this is happening, and again, she's talking to him, and I'm just like, seriously? And so it just comes down to this point where I moved out. I was now back out of the house because that whole thing was just like, we were not seeing an inch of money that we were trying to save. I mean, we did pay off some debt, so like it did help us to move in with my mother, But yeah, we just didn't know where the money was going. We didn't trust her at that point, so me and my husband were like, we gotta get out of here. And so, with that being said, um, I move out, so I don't see any of the situation. My brother says that she's not talking to him, so I'm like, okay, whatever, sure. Um, time goes by, and eventually my mom is just kind of at this situation where she's like, he keeps messaging me, da 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 da, and that's where I'm saying, like, he reels her back in. You're beautiful, commenting on all her stuff, messaging her every day, over and over and over. I miss you, babe. Where are you, babe? Babe, text me back. Babe, I'm so sad without you. Like, my father barely says a word. He does not talk much. It's very hard to get a conversation out of him. He's very quiet. He's very introverted. You know, I mentioned he's sick. He was never the kind of partner that my mom wanted. So it's like, it was, there's a lot of layers to the situation. So I don't think it's easy to just put blame on one person or another, because there is no blame. There's a blame and accountability that they both have to face that they won't, and that's why you should go to therapy, get mental health help, get on medication if that helps you, etc. And don't rely on people for your happiness, because you end up in these situations. So, anyways, if you're in a relationship like that and your partner doesn't take you out on dates, never holds your hand, isn't romantic, doesn't get you anything much, doesn't, you cook for him, you do his laundry, you practically wipe his butt, like, you know, like, she takes care of him, cooks for him every day, wakes up every morning, makes him a meal for work, da 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 da, not even a thank you, not even flowers every once in a while, like, all of these things, and I can get into the nitty gritty of it, but I don't think it's necessary, because point blank, they're just not good for each other. But so I can understand how, like, my mom fell for it, because if you're getting this constant affirmation, because we've all been in a toxic relationship or stuck to someone who isn't good for us, or we chase them because we want them so bad, or we want to make it work so bad, but they're obviously not good for us, but because every once in a blue moon they're hitting us up, or like, it's that intoxication with love, intoxication with what could be. And so she would reel him back in, and it's so sad to, like, see my mom go through this, because she does deserve love, she does deserve happiness, like, she deserves everything, and I wish I could give her that, but I can't, because it ultimately has to come from you. And I think at the end of the day, like, for her, it comes from somebody still, like, it has to come from somebody. um, but my mom's a strong woman, and regardless of how she treats me or whatever, I don't care. She's had a hard life, and generational trauma is hard to break, you know, and a lot of people don't, which is why people end up in these situations. And so, I can see how she ended up in this situation. I can see how it was intoxicating for her. And during this time, she's becoming more dependent on alcohol, which is never good. And my parents, I've never seen them drink. And even when they did drink, it was like a beer a year. Like, my parents would never drink. And all of a sudden, my mother was buying alcohol almost every week. She would always have alcohol in the house, drinking a beer every day. And it was just getting really bad really fast. And so that kind of leads us back to where we were, um, with her leaving him the note, and her still being attached to him after so long, and him making these empty promises he's gonna move her out. Like, she went to go look at houses. Like, now that I think about it, this looks exactly just like all the documentaries, because it's like template. And finally, after that whole thing with the unaliving event, I was just like, I'm sick of this. I'm Googling it. And so I Googled, and I was kind of upset with her from, like, um, one, that was the only person she wrote, and two, like, I tried to help her so much in that situation. I was helping her with her bills, I was helping getting the rent moved because they're losing the house, they're selling the house and they want them out of the house. I was helping with all of that stuff, and when we went to the hospital, it said that only my sister could go see her, and my sister's like the one who wants the least to do with her, honestly. And I was just extremely hurt. So after that situation, I googled this guy. His name is Ignacio Silvia, supposedly. And I've like looked into his profile before when my mom first showed me the things, and I knew he was fake after that. But if you just look up Silvia soldier catfishing, you find all of this stuff on catfishing videos from him and the real person, or who knows. Honestly, AI is so powerful these days, like maybe what if he's not even freaking real? I don't know. But there's a whole Facebook post explaining how fake he is and how he lures people with his child, and all of these women who fell for him and sent him money, and my mom is one of those women. Some of these women are out thousands of dollars. He gets new Gmails. You'll block him off of one Gmail. He'll get a new one and he'll pop back up. You block him off of that one, he'll end up on Gmail chats. If you block him off of there, he'll email you. If you block him off of there, he'll TikTok you. Like, he is a true disgusting person who does that. And if he's doing it to multiple people, imagine how much money he's making off of this. Like, it is truly vile. Like, ugh, ugh. Who can justify that behavior just to make a couple $1,000? Like, it is disgusting. And so, sorry I'm so heated. It's just, once it happens to you, someone you love, it's extremely frustrating because how many of these people, there's thousands of comments, hundreds of comments, I mean, on this Facebook post. How many people fall victim to this stuff? And it's just terrible. And so, with that being said, I think this video is pretty much over. I'm just going to finish doing this, but thank you for listening to me. God loves you. I love you. And I truly mean that when I say it. I do love you. If you ever want to talk, you can always message me. My Instagram handle will be at the bottom. That's all I really have. I used to have a TikTok. It was for art, but I don't really use it because I don't really like TikTok. But with that being said, if you know anybody in this type of situation, please have these hard conversations. And if you are one of these people, you can get out of it, and you are stronger than this. You do not need these people, and you are deserving of love, and you will find love, but you have to work on yourself first. You can't attract good things if you don't feel good. And I know that's easier said than done, and I know it's hard to feel that way, but it does get better. It does get better, but you have to do the active work. You have to be consistent. You have to have discipline, and that's just the hard reality of it. And that's why people end up in these situations over and over and over and over, not necessarily catfishing, but in the runt of their life, strife. If we all were able to have the consistency and discipline to get out of our problems, people wouldn't have problems. But it's truly dedication, work, consistency, therapy. If it's not therapy, it's introspective perspective within oneself to question things and get help. There's YouTube now. Google how to get out of toxic relationships. Google how to stop being toxic. Google how to stop being depressed. And you will find therapists that work for you if you don't want to go in person. So, anyways, I'm ranting. Thank you for coming on to my video. This has been phalanges, you know, because phalanges are Angie, I'm Angie, and then phalanges are fingers, phalanges. Thank you for listening to my shenanigans, and I appreciate you hanging out with me. I noticed I was going to finish my peach tea to show you this little cat, so, like, you can see the little kitty in there. Let me try to... You see him? He's so little cute. My husband says if we get a house, I can have another cat. I have two right now, Breve and Espresso. He's staring at me right now, but he says if we get a house, we can have another cat. So prayers for a house, prayers for another cat, and let me know how I can keep you in my prayers down below in the comments. Besides that, I hope you know that I love you, God loves you, and I hope you have a great day, guys, or a great night whenever you're listening to this, and take care of yourselves, and thank you for listening.